But before I jump into talking about repositories, I kind of wanted to let you know that this is not really the only option that you have to automate the especially for MSSPs. This is a really important part of it. So this is not the only option. And in fact, there's an even newer option that is currently in private preview. So if you're part of that private community that I was talking about earlier in the chat, I encourage you to join if you're not part of it, because there are some really neat features coming up that are targeted to MSSPs that are going to make life better. So this is one option only. You still have other options available. And so you still have, you can write your own code, around the API. We have the PowerShell module. Everything that we do, because it is Azure, is going to be based on ARM templates. And this is what Repositories currently supports, but it will likely be supporting additional resources or artifacts as we go along. I only have like 4 slides, and then I'll jump in to the demo. So this is the API. These are some of the endpoints. There's probably more since I updated this slide. But I just wanted to let you know there is the Security Insights Sentinel. It's the Sentinel API. There's also an Operational Insights, which is a monitor or log analytics workspace API. So those two in combination can pretty much do anything together. And they keep adding more and more features to it. So just keep an eye out for those. And there are some PowerShell modules. There was one, the original one was actually built by the community. And this is this one, the Azure AC Sentinel one. But since January 2021, we released our own, which is Security Insights, and it is based on, of course, the API. And I encourage everyone to try it out so you can automate everything. And the last bit, which is what I'm going to be demoing today, is repositories. So repositories, it currently supports both GitHub and Azure DevOps. In my personal workspace, I have it set up with GitHub, so that's what I'm going to demo. But it does support Azure DevOps as well. And currently, it supports these types of content. But like I said, it is still in preview, so you watch out because there's probably more artifacts coming this way. And so right now, the way that it works is that you'll place your content into your repository. And once you create a connection from a workspace, so I'll go here and I'll configure a connection. Once I connect it to my repository, I can then automate the push of those artifacts from the GitHub repository into any of the workspaces that I have connected to it. And right now it's one way. Their product team is working on improving this even further. So let me jump right in. I'm going to go into repositories. And actually, because it takes a little bit of a minute to run, I'm going to actually kick it off first so that you can see it running, and then I'll come back and I'll show you kind of how this is all set up while it runs. So I have this, and by the way, this is a private repository, and I just use it for demo purposes. But the reason that I'm highlighting that it is private, because that's a question that I always get. It's like, does it support private? Yes, as long as you can connect to it, it will support it. And actually, I'm going to show you the before and after. I'm going to do the test with some analytic rules. I'm going to leave that open, and I'm going to show you some analytic rules that I have that were pushed. I think I cleaned up. I only left one. So you can actually see here that there's source name for this one is repositories. So this is the one that is currently there. Account is sensitive, changed. And so and that's the one that I see here. So I'm going to push a file here, which is an analytic rule. And I'm going to do this one, unconstrained delegation. So this is the file that I'm going to push into my repository. This is what an analytic rule looks like. And actually, by the way, if you take one analytic rule and you export it from a workspace, you can just keep all of those artifacts into one location and export them all. There's actually a script that is provided by one of our PMs, which I have linked into the set of links that I shared into the chat earlier, which is aka.ms/Sentinel links. There's one there that points to my blog on the repositories, and in there you can find the link to that script that will export everything that you have. I think it supports at least 3 or 4 different types of artifacts, if not more, by now. But so this is what it looks like. And one thing that I always highlight is I'm pushing it as enabled, but you don't have to. You can, in my case, I need it enabled so that I can just get going automatically because I have cleaned this up already and I'm good to go. But if you don't want it to be enabled out of the bat, then you don't have to. So I'm gonna constraint delegation and new rule. Constraint delegation, and I'm just gonna commit. And so because I connected the wait for that commit to go through. Okay. Before I connected my repository through the workspace. So that's why this is kicking off. So I can actually sit here and watch it. It'll take, like I said, a minute or two. So I'm going to come back to this in a minute so that I can go show you how this is configured. And then we'll check that the analytic rule made it in. So this is, and actually if I refresh here, you're going to see this in progress because I am currently pushing to it. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is that it does support GitHub and Azure DevOps. Like I said, I am demonstrating it with GitHub, but it does support other types of, for now, those two, but we'll see in the future. And it also supports automation rules, hunting queries, playbooks, workbooks, parsers, and I'm doing it with analytic rules, but it does support others. And when you configure it, what it does is it actually comes in here and creates this file. Let's see here. When you connect it, it's going to create this file, and then you can go and change this configuration. So, if I wanted to only push content that is coming from a specific folder within my repository, I can just do that. There's also a new feature that allows you to have they're called configuration files, and it allows you to basically decide which artifacts you want to prioritize and which content you might want to exclude from specific push to different customers. So maybe some customers need some analytic rules, but others don't. And I don't want to focus too much on this feature because I know there's newer features that are going to come and kind of make it even better for MSSPs. But this feature, the customizations options, are currently available. And the configuration of files to prioritize is currently available with Sentinel repositories. And I'm actually going to go back to that one to watch it and see how it's moving. All right, so it's actually deploying the content right now. Actually, maybe we can expand it so you can actually see it running. It's almost done. So what happens is, so once it's done, I'm going to show you the actual analytic rule when it got created, because I want to show you that it looks a little bit different than the other analytic rules. Okay, now it's done. So now when I come here, I'm going to refresh here. Now I have this new one, which I just pushed to the repository, and you can see the unconstrained delegation analytic rule has been pushed. And like I said, I pushed it enable, but you can modify it to be disabled or on push. What I wanted to show you is that when you go, wait.
Angelica, can we increase the size just a little bit?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm going to close this here so I can actually see it. These are repositories 1. I was looking for a, there's usually a warning here that was going to show up, and I don't know why it's not showing. Let me make this a little bit smaller just to make sure that I'm looking. There it is. Okay, sorry. See this? I don't know why I didn't see it at the beginning, but this is the warning that you're going to get. It says this rule is synced with an external repository, so any changes will be overwritten by the next sync. It's not right now, it doesn't prevent anyone from coming and updating it, but it will get overwritten if they, during the next push. So any changes that they make to it will be overwritten by it. So in the it is a feature that is in preview. So any feedback that you have back to the product team, they're super welcome, and they would love to hear from you about it. The other thing that I'm covering during this session is workbooks, and actually I don't have slides, so I'm just going to jump into, and Dave kind of did a little bit about workbooks by showing you some of the most used ones, but there's a lot that is available to you. And one thing I want to highlight is actually this note that it says in here. It used to be that you would get templates and then you could create the workbooks directly, but from starting Q2 2023, only templates that are going to show up here are the ones that you have installed through Content Hub. So if you want to see templates here, you're going to have to come through Content Hub. And I'm going to spend a minute here to walk you through it because it's really become really, really nice. And it's nice in the way that you can search for content, all sorts of artifacts, but it's also nice in some of the actual content solutions that are available here. The one that I always, before I even jump into some of the other ones, I love recommending this training lab for everyone. All my partners, they know that I'm a huge fan of this. So if you have new people that are joining your team or just people that are just new to Sentinel, I think this is one of the best ways because there's only so much you can learn by watching videos and watching other people do stuff. I think the best learning is to actually get your hands dirty. And this is one of those solutions, the Sentinel Training Lab. And what I love about it is that it really takes you step by step through setting up your workspace. And I'll open it up so you can see how detailed it goes. I mean, it really walks you through the whole thing. And it doesn't cover everything, but it does cover the basics. And it's enough to get you started. It covers data connectors, analytic rules, incident management, hunting, even watch lists are here, and TI, and even Content Hub is here. So it's a great way. I would actually pair this up with the free trial that comes with Sentinel, which lasts, I think it's 30 or 31 days, and you get, during the trial, you get up to a certain amount of data for free. So by the way, it's up to, I believe it's 20 workspaces per tenant that have this trial available. So you can have some of your new teammates just take advantage of that, combine that with that training solution, and then go at it. Also, the training solution comes with a little bit of sample data. So you can, it's automatically going to come with some incidents and some data in there so they can actually run through at least the very basics of Sentinel. I think it's a great learning tool, so just make use of that. But there's other solutions that are available here. And like I said, some of those include workbooks, which are the ones technically the subject that I'm supposed to be covering now, but I wanted to cover Content Hub first because there's a lot of changes here. You can actually search by the ones that are package solution, or you can search by the ones that are coming standalone, because there will be some content that is just on its own. It's very rare to see, but it is possible. And then you can also search, like if you're looking for ones that include analytic rules, you can search by just that type, or the ones that contain watch lists. You can also search by that. And the other thing is this one, the status. If I get this question a lot, like how do you know which ones have an update available? And so they added this here into the Content Hub area, you can actually search to the ones that actually have updates available and then go through the updates and go through that. And that's another thing that I wanted to cover that I think we talked a little bit about. I think Indranil spoke a little bit about data connectors earlier. A lot of the partners that are focusing on migration, like they're coming from a legacy SIEM and they have to migrate to Sentinel, they're very, very worried about having to rewrite analytic rules. So I always tell them, start with whatever your data source is, because a lot of times you'll find solutions like this one here, where they'll have the data connector, but they'll also have 54 analytic rules. And sometimes only one of those analytic rules will cover multiple scenarios. There's one analytic rule that has over 100 different scenarios. So you don't worry so much about having to maybe translate the old queries to KQL to Sentinel language, because a lot of times these solutions will come packaged together for you. So focus on what your data source is and then go from there. That's my experience works the best. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to, and I'm going to jump into the workbooks now, but there are some really nice solutions, especially if you guys have government organizations as customers. Solutions such as this one, the cybersecurity model certification, it comes, and I'm going to show you some of these workbooks in a minute, which is the reason why I'm highlighting them. But they don't just come with the workbooks. They come with some playbooks, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. They come with analytic rules. That's one of them. There's the M2131. That's another one, the maturity model for event log management. There's a lot of these initiatives that and sometimes it's not just government organizations, sometimes is the contractors, organizations that work for the government that have to still meet the same type of requirements. And there's even this one, which is the one that I'm actually going to show you, the Zero Trust one. I think this is a fantastic solution that even as a basic for any kind of company that is trying to track their progress towards meeting some of these requirements. It's and these are available. They're here. They're free. You can see the pricing here. They're free. They're constantly being updated with whatever the newest requirements are. Newer ones are actually showing here. Sometimes you see some like this one, like the Log4j vulnerability, if we're tracking a specific vulnerability. But sometimes you'll see others that are more complex. So I'm going to jump into the workbook and actually show you the Zero Trust one, because I want to. By the way, these are really templates. Yes, they are dashboards, and we call them workbooks because they're so much more than a dashboard. As you can see, I'm going to check some of these here. I don't know what I'm going to look at, so I'm just going to pick a few of them. And maybe recommended content, even recommended data connectors too are in here. But see, this data is not only just showing you the data, but it's also allowing you to take action. And this one specifically, the data is actually coming from Defender for Cloud. So if you have Defender for Cloud integrated like I do on my tenant, then you're going to get these recommendations to show up in here. And then you're going to be able to take action. If you have the right permissions, of course, then you're going to be able to take action. But it shows you, see, you can understand why they're no longer called dashboards, they're called workbooks, because there's a lot more that you can do with them. It's also a really great way to visualize and to provide access to sometimes ELT that want to see the progress that you're making, especially within a specific customer, especially towards specific targets, like maybe Zero Trust or CMMC. And you get all this data here. And you get, if you don't see what you want to see, you can edit this. You can, so this is really just a template. And you can go in and modify the queries that are being done, and you can modify sometimes you can even customize it for like some of my partners will go in and put in the customer name on the actual workbook, so that it makes it a very customized and pretty much specific for that customer. Oh, if you see these surveys here, please take the time to provide feedback. Team really looks at these. They're going to continue to create this type of solution based on feedback that is provided, especially from our partners. We really love to hear feedback from the partners, so please take the time to do that. Oh, another one that you're going to see a lot is this guide here. A lot of them are going to follow this pattern, where they'll tell you if you want to see like more detailed steps of how to configure some of them, because some of them are more complex, and I'll show you some of those in a minute. So you can actually put this guide in here. And you can also pin this to dashboards. So you can, if you don't want to give access to people to Sentinel, you can create a dashboard. I have this favorite dashboard that I created. And so you can pin this externally and then just give access to that dashboard to whoever needs access to it. And you can pin a few of them actually to a dashboard. But that's a way that they don't need to necessarily have access to Sentinel to be able to access this data, because not everyone needs access. And what's the other thing that I wanted to show? Well, let me show you some of the other ones while I have time. Another one that is very, the SOC framework. I know SAC is a big fan of this one. So am I. So this is, and mine is not like in the best state right now, but what I like about this is some customers and maybe even some partners do not have a SOC, or maybe they have a SOC, but they kind of want to check to make sure that they're doing things as good as they can. And so they want to run it by somebody else. And this was put together by a member of the GBB. Actually, he moved on from the GBB now to another internal team, but he put together this, and I think it's been super useful to a lot of our partners. It does give you a lot of guidance. Not only does it give you guidance as to how you should organize your SOC, but it also gives you things that you should be doing. Also, incident response framework, how you should be going about triaging, how you should be going about investigating some of these incidents, the processes and procedures that you should be following. It also gives you, see, it really goes quite into detail about severities, what they should be. So, and like I said, even if you have a process in place, I think it helps to compare what everybody else is doing. Sometimes a lot of the partners will want to know what everyone else is doing. And this is probably a really good place to start and to see what processes you should be following. There's even a training section here. So a lot of our partners, we recommend that they get certified. In fact, it's one of the requirements for certain incentives. And so this for Sentinel, it would be the SC200. So it actually goes into the training and what your analyst should be following. So this is a workbook, but it has, as you can see, it's a lot more. It has a ton of information. I only really just scratched the surface of that one. And then the other one that I wanted to show was the cost one. The reason why I like to show the cost one is because I get a lot of questions from MSSPs. I'm actually going to go out here and show you. Here, I have Azure Lighthouse set up. So this is my tenant, and these are my customers. So you see data from other workspaces here. These are my customers. So when I go to the Sentinel cost, and the reason that I like to show this is because sometimes people think that just by selecting stuff here, that's the only way that I can have a view across workspaces. And yes, you can see incidents. As you can see, I'm seeing incidents from all my customers here because I set up Lighthouse. But that's not the only access that I have. As long as me, the user, in my case Buttercup, has access to other workspaces, I will be able to see data, and workbooks are one of that way that I can do that. So in the, let's see, I have all these customers here, or two of them are mine and two of them are my customers. But because I selected all, I can see the cost data across. And if I only wanted to look at one of them, I could just select one of them and just focus on one of them to look at. But as long as I have access to that workspace, I'll be able to get the data through the workbooks. And then the 3 minutes. So the last two that I wanted to show you or highlight here, these are workbooks, but they're actually available within the incidents blade. This one right here, the security efficiency workbook, the fantastic workbook. And again, this is a workbook that is really a template. See it as something that you can modify even further by just clicking on edit and saving it as whatever name. Like as you can see here, I've actually renamed it with my workspace name. But you can rename it with your customer, and you can see, incidents created by severity, time to triage. You can see time to closure, and I don't close anything, so probably not a good one to look at for my workspace. But there's a lot of this that is already created for you, so don't go reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of these workbooks that are available. Another one that it's actually two that are available through the analytics blades. There's the analytics efficiency workbook and the health and audit, which is a new one. I'm going to show you the analytics efficiency, which is kind of similar to the incidents one, but you can see data by specific. Here, let's put the fusion one. And there's no results because what am I looking at? Oh, last 30 days. So maybe let's pick some more. And I don't know if I have any. Oh, here we go. Enable, disable. I can actually see some alerts triggered, and I can see additional details from this one too. And there's the last one is the health one, which is, by the way, for health and audit, you do have to enable health. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And let's see, 30 days. I don't have data. Why don't I have data? Let's see. Oh, because I'm in the wrong. Probably. Let's just select all of them. And then this one. And now I can actually get data. That makes sense. If I don't pick the right subscription, I'm not going to see the right data. But you can actually see some of the analytics from the health status. And this is another one that you can actually pin to another dashboard so that people that need access to it can also get access to it.